Greetings to all. Before we start today's episode, we would like to offer our sincere gratitude to our principal, Professor Dr. Maushami Datta, who gave us the idea of bringing and having our own podcast. Our Vice Principal and IQAC Coordinator, Professor Dr. Mona Mehta, who helped us making this podcast come into existence. Let's start today's podcast, which is in association with IQAC, Internal Quality Assurance Cell, hosted by the Department of Multimedia and Mass Communication, the Nkc Spotlight. Now the guests for today are very special because the episode itself is extra special. Now you all must be wondering कि guest कौन है? The guests are our very own team. Yes, we are interviewing ourselves today. The final and last episode of the academic year 2023-24. Here we have the spotlight on Team Spotlight.
Today we have Purva Bangodkar. She is our production manager. We have the content writer Tejas J. We have the editor Harsh Jaiswal and the floor manager Manish Saleh. I bring this question to you, Purva. As the first host of this podcast, how did it feel to start this journey on a great note? Because you interviewed our director, madam, our management team. How was the experience?
Thank you for the question, Sneha. When we talk about everybody remembers their first thing. The first memory is always special for everybody. So has been this podcast for me because not only was this the first episode that Nkc Spotlight ever put out, but it was also my first time ever hosting a podcast. The experience was very surreal. Interacting with a team, especially the management, the director ma'am, principal, vice principal of an institution that you have been a part of for the last 5 years, getting to know the institution's journey, their journey, how the foundation was laid, was, a very enriching experience that not everybody gets to experience. So I'm very glad to have had that special moment, especially in my career.
How nervous were you?
I was very nervous because, they are important people of this college. So definitely was very nervous. But there's such nice people. They made me so comfortable in my space before we started shooting for the podcast that it never felt like, I'm interviewing the director. It always felt like I'm just talking to a teacher. So it was a very wonderful experience that I had.
We all agree to that.
And I'm very grateful to Nkc Spotlight and the entire team as well as the management and our principal, vice principal ma'am for giving me this opportunity.
Tejas, tell us about the process. Like, how do you prepare all the questions for all of our guests?
See, if you ask me about the research process, it's very simple. First of all, if you are preparing a question about anybody, you want to ask something about them, it's a very basic rule that you don't ask them a question that is already available in the public or that is already available by the person himself. Because that is a very basic necessity to at least research about that person. Because as an advertising student myself, as a journalism student myself, we have been taught that you don't go and ask them very silly questions like what field are you in or what, very obvious questions. You ask something that is not available in the public domain, right? So very first thing that comes to your mind is the research process. You research about them on the internet, you research about their personal thing, things they have shared or something that is very personal to them and very people should know it, right? Because one of the things is because the person is coming, he or she will feel you know about them. First of all, that he or she will feel good. Then you prepare those questions and that's the very basic thing I do. First research and then prepare questions.
Yeah, because I have prepared all these questions today.
Yeah.
So I think I'll take some tuition after this podcast. Did I do it correct, Tejas?
Yeah, you can. I'm available to you.
Sure. Now this is a very crucial and important thing because editing, जो भी हम यहाँ पे कर रहे हैं, आउटकम अच्छा नहीं होगा, इट्स अ वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट थिंग. हर्ष as well.
मैं क्या बोलूं इसमें अभी जस्ट अभी क्वेश्चन नहीं आ रहा, मतलब मेरे दिल में से लगता है मेरे को पसंद नहीं अभी जाना कैमरा पे आना, इसलिए मैंने एडिटिंग ही लिया था. तो अभी मैं जैसे बोलना चाहूँ तो कि एडिटिंग मतलब जो पॉडकास्ट है वो मेरे को बहुत कुछ दिया. मतलब जो मेरा पॉडकास्ट कर रहा हूँ मैं, इसकी वजह से मेरे को जो इंटर्नशिप मेरे को मिला था इसकी वजह से मेरे को मिला था. तो मतलब ये पॉडकास्ट मेरी लाइफ में बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट रोल प्ले करता है, क्योंकि वो पहला इंटर्नशिप उसने मेरे को दिया.
तो ये कितना वो है कि like you manage your studies, your college life while editing all this podcast and everything, like कैसे manage कैसे होता है?
अभी पॉडकास्ट तो मतलब अभी मैं अभी चालू किया, पर एडिटिंग तो मैं पहले से ही कर रहा हूँ. तो फिर उसकी वजह से मतलब मेरे लाइफ का एक पार्टी होगा कि हाँ मतलब डेली इनको एडिटिंग करना ही है. मतलब अभी यूज टू होगा कि हाँ कोई पर ये काम मिला है तो काम भी करना पड़ेगा, फिर एडिटिंग भी करना है, फिर पॉडकास्ट का भी करना है. मतलब यूज टू हो गया कि हाँ ठीक है अभी जाके शूट हुआ, शूट किया, फिर उसके बाद में एडिट करो, फिर सेंड करो. मतलब यूज टू हो गया कि हाँ चलो.
तो इसका मतलब कि your day is all back.
बोल सकते हो.
All back.
हर्ष की वजह से ये बोल पाते हैं कि एडिट में देख लेना,
बस भी संभाल लेंगे.
हर्ष भी संभाल लेंगे.
Thank you Harsh.
She's like the dark night. He works all day, all night. And then we get a final product. And editors की तो वैसे भी like their life is like very tough.
Yeah, sitting in one position and editing all those things are very
वो मेन
very tough.
क्योंकि एक टाइम के बाद मन से भी भर जाता है कि नहीं बहुत हो गया, कितने टाइम तक एक ही स्क्रीन को देखते रहूंगा.
My heart goes out to हर्ष. मुझे नहीं समझता उसको चश्मा कैसे नहीं लगाया. इतना टाइम आगे बैठ के कंप्यूटर या लैपटॉप के. It's a tough job, man. It's a tough job.
Thank you so much Harsh. Manish Sahil,
Yes.
the floor manager,
Yeah.
the funniest one I feel. Tejas is offended by Tejas. Sorry, Tejas. So, what goes into bring like the guests that you bring? How do you manage them?
It is very easy for a person like me
Is
क्योंकि
it?
I am a super extrovert person कि hesitation hesitates me and
I will second. I will absolutely second.
Social anxiety है, is afraid of growth.
and ऐसा है कि most of the guests जो आए हैं हमारे podcast में they have been teachers. Nelson sir, Edwin sir. Nelson sir हम लोग को फर्स्ट ईयर में सिखाया and we have a great connection with Nelson sir because sir हमेशा क्लास में आते थे, कुछ सिखाते थे and it's not like a teacher, he is more like a brother, big brother. He talks like a mentor. Everyone should agree.
Yeah,
And Edwin sir we everyone know by Agman.
And really,
Yeah. And I personally loved Mona ma'am's episode, but it was too fun. Most of the time, we be very formal with the dignitaries, but it never felt formal with Mona ma'am, Moshmi ma'am, because they were too sweet and humble.
They just make you feel at home. Na? It's
Yeah,
एकदम
and she was very connective also, Mona.
Yeah,
She
yeah.
talked about movies.
that episode is definitely one of my favorites.
And very dignitaries are so humble. मतलब ऐसे लगता ही नहीं है कि हम dignitaries के साथ हैं यार.
So true.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
They make us feel comfortable.
Very much. So, is it hard? Like, no?
Not hard for me. I don't know. And
Harsh.
I managed a guest, but special thanks to Shivang, जो क्लास मैनेज करता है हर बार. एंड टाइम पे हम लोग बोल देते हैं ये क्लासरूम चाहिए, 7th फ्लोर चाहिए. He is the 2 मिनट में हो जाएगा.
अरे हो जाएगा.
सब हो जाएगा.
शिवांग भाई.
Shivang organizes very well. I hope he organizes my life.
Tejas nobody can organize.
Nice. Okay.
Okay.
We pray. We hope.
We can only hope.
आई थिंक अभी जो ये मैं पूछने वाली हूँ, आई थिंक जो भी हमारे व्यूअर्स हैं, जो भी हमारा पॉडकास्ट देखते हैं, हाउ डिड यू कम अप विद दिस नेम एनकेसी स्पॉटलाइट? आई थिंक सबको ये जानना है, मुझे भी ये जानना है.
I think Tejas will tell about this because he's the most appropriate person to talk about naming anything. Naming ceremony Tejas ही करता है.
Thank you.
So he will elaborate.
Okay, so a lot of people were involved in this. The podcast is vice chairperson Himanshu and Harsh and me and Purva and we all of Preeti ma'am, like coordinator who's like the head executive. So we were all involved in this, and we were thinking, ki, what is the purpose behind this podcast, right? And because we were very keen on the idea that we want to showcase all the things that the college people doesn't know about, or they doesn't focus on things. We want to put focus on these things, focus on people, focus on the things they think about. So we had a lot of names, right? We had 10, 12 names, and then we came to the conclusion that Spotlight is a very appropriate name. And that, of course, it was given by one of my recommendations. We also had a lot of good recommendations, but then we all were very all were very cooperative, and we all had a same vision. We thought, giving the name Spotlight is very good, because what does the spotlight do? It puts light on the things, so for people to see, right? For people to acknowledge it. So we always have that vision to bring out the things and facts that matter, and that is not seen by many people. So that's why we came to the conclusion that Spotlight is a very appropriate name, and we wanted this college ka everything. We have a lot of things. We had a lot of things, and we still have a lot of things to do.
बहुत content है.
Yeah, बहुत सारा content है, because college में बहुत सारे talented लोग हैं और बहुत चीज़ है. We hope that we do in the next year, in the next episodes. And then NKC का Spotlight है ये podcast. It's and I also like the fact that podcast is like a video and sound, right? But Spotlight is something that is light, right? Sound is visual. It's very properly put that NKC का Spotlight है. So that is the whole story.
I think, and after naming it as Nkc Spotlight, I think in all of the episodes that we have done so far, our content has embodied the name Spotlight.
Yeah.
I mean, you talk about episodes where you got to know about college का history, college का back story. You got to know about a vice principal. किसी को पता नहीं होगा मोना मैम को movies इतने पसंद है. मुझे तो नहीं पता था. Right? Getting to know about teachers, getting to know about students की ये हमारे कॉलेज में ये सब भी होता है. हमारे टीचर्स ये भी करते हैं. I think it has embodied that name. It brings people together. Exactly.
It brought people together
Exactly. So I think बहुत appropriately chosen name था Spotlight, and it is stuck to its name. It is made sure it justifies.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it has also helped us to know the people that we look up to, that the people who are our leaders, like Mona ma'am and Moshmi ma'am and Nancy ma'am. They're all our leaders, right? We see them working for the college, and we don't but we don't regularly, not all the students know about them in detail, or
we don't know
little
their
personal things, right?
insights.
So when we did that episode with Mona ma'am and Mosh ma'am, we get to know a lot of personal things. Like Mona ma'am likes movies, she's a movie enthusiast, and also Mosh ma'am likes to travel, she's a trek person. We got to know all these things, and I think these things matter, because when you know about when you look up to someone, it's not just that you know about their formal things, the things that very
that they've accomplished.
There's a lot of sides as well.
But we also got to know their personal things, which make them feel more connected to them.
I think this has been a way that the students who don't get an opportunity to personally interact, to personally interact with our dignitaries. As the podcast in sort of a way has been that point of connection for them to our principal, vice principal, director.
Yeah.
Tell us some behind the scenes पिछले जितने भी episodes हैं. Tell us the funniest one.
Funniest one. इसमें मनीष तो रहेगा. आज का ही हो गया. We borrowed a plant.
Stressing on borrowed.
Borrowed a plant for our setup.
Yeah.
Expedition led by Ashwin sir. Ashwin sir guided our FY Aman and our floor manager Manish Talian.
You can hi to Aman behind the camera.
Behind the camera.
Hi, man.
So today it was fun because we borrowed it. So
Again?
our setup looks clean, nice, pretty.
Yeah, and this setup was done by our executive, Preeti ma'am and also Shirley ma'am. So,
Borrowed dupatta and borrowed tag.
Jugaad, but
जुगाड़ तो है.
yeah, and I would like to share one thing. So we were doing this episode. The second episode, what we did was with the chairpersons,
Yeah.
all the student chairpersons and
Purchase take.
representative. So there was a lot of funny thing behind that episode because it was the first time we were interviewing some students, right?
Yeah.
So first of all, we were a very small team. So we wanted to like हम सब कुछ कर रहे थे. We were the spot dada. I was the spot dada.
Chair, umbrella पकड़ के खड़ा
Yeah,
था.
you can see the picture can appear on the screen. This was editors can.
Arch देख लेना.
So we were the spot dada, makeup dada, everything we were.
Sound भी हम ही करेंगे,
Sound भी
video
हम-
भी हम ही करेंगे.
It's very आत्मनिर्भर. आत्मनिर्भर बन गया है. Nkc Spotlight भी आत्मनिर्भर है. And also in that episode, there was this. Okay, I would like to name him. He's Rugved Surve. Our IDCS chairperson is a very funny guy. So it's like he was taking takes and takes and takes. It was like he answered everything right. What we told him, but at the end, at the right where it was supposed to end, he's like cut.
वापस sit down. And I remember the first statement that he made when he came into the room that we were shooting. He said, "मैं तो one take artist हूँ, मैं one take artist हूँ." And we 25 take तो दे ही दिया होगा उसने.
He took the longest.
Yeah, it took the longest, and it was just too funny. Because literally what he's saying ना end पे आके guys वापस लेंगे, guys वापस लेंगे. And then he'll forget, he'll say everything properly. And then when we're about to cut it, he'll just be like, "Nee guys, bhul gaya, sorry."
Also there was the another person, Badri. If you know
B-section.
B-section, he was the very funniest. Like he was like, वो ऐसे like उसको वो आंसर रट के आया था इसे. Because he provided them with the question. So
पहले तो कंफ्यूज था कि वो कौन सा डिपार्टमेंट है.
it was very long कि कौन से department like specified because it was a very confusion. He was like उसने आंसर दे दिया and he was like उसने थोड़ा mistake कर दिया. माफ कर दो. He was so scared. It was
He
like,
was बंदूक लेके shoot करवाया है उससे. नहीं यार, no बंदूक. No violence, not violence.
Yeah, please editor.
एक्चुअली में वो हम लोग का सेकंड पॉडकास्ट नहीं, वो फर्स्ट ही पॉडकास्ट था क्योंकि हम लोग का पायलट एपिसोड था.
हाँ, shoot
तो
wise
उससे बहुत
technically.
learning मिल जाता है.
बहुत learning था उसमें.
Yeah.
कहने के लिए सेकंड है पर
Technically, originally it is like the first baby.
Yeah, this behind the scenes exclusive. It was our first video that we shot, but it was the second video that we uploaded. Yeah.
Tell us about the working environment. Like, how do you all manage to cope up with each other? I think एक टाइम की वजह से होता है ना कि बहुत ज़्यादा workload है, you get frustrated, तुम तुम्हारा गुस्सा किसी पे निकालते हो. So how do you all manage those?
I think the toughest task is the editor. So Harsh should go first. Definitely.
मतलब अभी डेडलाइन के बारे में बात चल रहा है तो मैं इस पे मतलब मैं खुद काम करता हूँ. तो मेरा एक और दोस्त है हिमांशु.
Yeah, he's our VCP of podcast.
तो डेडलाइन के बारे में बात करें तो फिर मतलब कट टू कट चलता था एकदम. शूट किया, फिर वीडियो एडिट करना है, फिर सेंड भी करना है, फिर साउंड भी चाहिए प्लस. तो जब वो ऐसा बंदा है कि उसको मतलब सब चीज तुरंत चाहिए और चीज तो प्रॉपर चाहिए. प्रॉपर चाहिए. जब तक उसको प्रॉपर चीज नहीं मिलता है वो सबको पता है कि वो बार बार कराएगा, उसका वो मेन है. तो मतलब उसका हम लोग मतलब एक टाइम रात के 12 बजे तक मतलब करते थे कि हाँ ये करके ही देना कल क्योंकि प्रीति मैम को सबमिट करना रहता है. तो अगर नहीं हुआ तो फिर
थोड़ा
रोज 12 बजे तक नहीं भी सो के, इसलिए आज बीमार है शायद.
because हमें नागीदास खानवाला कॉलेज का YouTube चैनल पे डालना होता है तो we have to send it before. Like we don't have the our access, right? We have to send it there. We upload our Spotify. That happens very fast. But video ka we have to send before so that they upload it on time. So we have to be earlier. So it gets very
Frustrating.
not frustrating.
Like,
Yeah.
deadline से पहले you have to.
Yeah, because I think Spotify audio है ना, तो you need to to work on your audio and you need to get it submitted. But when these people are working for YouTube, you need to make sure कि तुम्हारा audio video match कर रहा है, तुम्हारा intro का sound बराबर आ रहा है क्या, visuals और audio दोनों important है YouTube में. And I think I am a very technologically challenged person who does not understand technology as such. मतलब basics आता है मुझे बहुत. So I think in that case, Yug, who manages the entire videography part of it, is somebody who is very essential, I think, when it comes to this team, because अगर तुम shoot ही नहीं करोगे तो क्या edit करोगे?
Visually क्या?
Exactly. So I think it is, making sure कि जब तक मुझे perfect shot नहीं मिलता, तब तक हम 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 बार ही shoot करेंगे.
Guys वापस.
Guys वापस.
Guys मजा नहीं आ रहा.
Guys मजा नहीं आ रहा. Guys वापस करेंगे. So I think he plays a very important role alongside Himanshu and Harsh, because I think editing requires a lot of patience. कि वो हर एक माइन्यूट डिटेल पे ध्यान देना पड़ेगा while
एडिटिंग का भी नेचर ही वो है कि डेडलाइन पे रहता है, सबसे एंड में आता है एडिटिंग का पार्ट और सबसे कम टाइम रहता है, तो मतलब एडिटिंग का नेचर ही वैसा है कि फट करना भी पड़ता है, प्लस प्रॉपर रहना भी चाहिए कि जो चाहिए, क्योंकि आउटकम कितना भी अच्छा शॉट करे कुछ भी करे, एडिटिंग के ऊपर ही सब वो होता है कि बेसिक से बेसिक शूट किया हुआ भी एडिटिंग के वैसे बहुत अच्छा लग सकता है.
Yeah, like editing makes the final product like approved, like अच्छा बनाना चाहिए finally, like it's like a magic door which like all the things get assembled there, so it's a very important aspect of editing. So yeah.
And I think this team that has been pushing out these podcasts every month, initially सबका first experience है यार, सब पहली बार ही कर रहे हैं podcast. तेजस भी शायद पॉडकास्ट के लिए पहली बार देख रहा है, मैं पहली बार होस्ट कर रही हूँ, ये लोग भी पॉडकास्ट पहली बार एडिट कर रहे हैं, मैनेज में भी मनीष ने भी कभी नहीं किया है कि होस्ट गेस्ट्स मैनेज किया है फॉर द पॉडकास्ट. बट दिस टीम का जो एनर्जी है, जो द वे दे वर्क टुगेदर इज सो इन सिंक कि तेजस लिख के भेज देगा, एडिट हो जाएगा, मैं शूट कर लूंगी, ये मैनेज कर लेगा. वी आर वेरी डिपेंडेंट ऑन ईच अदर, कि हमको पता है कि भले ही मैं अगर आज रिकॉर्ड करके लेट भेज दूं तो हर देख लेगा.
I also like the fact that we all respect our boundaries. Like if someone is expert in that, we will give, like I'll write, people will do this. All the people assigned to their jobs will do their jobs very well.
I think everybody knows कि every person in the team has their own strengths, and they know that when it comes to that particular part or segment of the production, they will do it. And I don't need to be behind them, or I don't need to interfere between them, because they are experts. That is why they are assigned that task, that particular position.
And in this way, everyone in the team feels like they have like contributed their part of the episode, and everybody for every episode feels like they're personal to them. It's not like when it's become काम कर लिया, सबका काम very equal है.
This team is family now.
Yeah, it is absolutely.
It was a family before only because we were all from
but I think that plays a big role, that when you know each other since a really long time, and you know what a particular person's strength is. Like when he's talking about Himanshu, कि Himanshu को सब time पे लगता है, it's not something new for us. We know, we have been working with Himanshu. He knows how his work ethic is or what his work pattern is. So when I want to shoot, I want to speak about something, when Tejas wants to write and send something that needs to be added, he knows कि ये person को एक particular way में कुछ चाहिए, तो I will make sure that happens in a way that person needs it. So the podcast goes out on time.
Yeah, and we would like to thank to our vice principal ma'am and IQSC cell, for us, like we are associated. This podcast is an association of IQSC, right? And we are the host department. It's like because of them we are like able to work with the family. So it's like it makes it very easy for us to work. So yeah, that's a very good part.
Yeah, and I think other than the team, our faculty members, especially Preeti ma'am, has always been supportive whenever they have been stuck. कि हमको नहीं पता इसके आगे क्या करें, किधर जाना है.
She always comes up.
Yeah, ma'am has. I can say she's a better content writer than me.
I have a lot.
She has a lot of
I have a lot
ideas.
to learn from her, and
Yeah, she has a lot of ideas that are out of the box. That हम में से कोई नहीं सोचता, but mom is like, oh, we can do this. ये कर सकते. She's very enthusiastic.
Yeah.
Which is where our enthusiasm as a team comes from her.
Yes. Yeah. Like the four ladies that have helped. This is like a very women powered podcast.
Yeah.
Because there's Moshmi ma'am, there's Nkc ma'am, there's Preeti
Mona
ma'am,
ma'am,
there's Mona ma'am,
everything.
there's all
Yeah.
people. Yeah. So
It's very our team gets its power from these four women.
and also Shireen ma'am.
Yeah.
It's like and now Ashwin sir, so it's like
One we have a male energy also into the mix.
yeah.
But I think whatever the podcast is being put out is because the entire team is working. It's not one person ka mehnat, na, it is everybody is doing. Yeah, it's a collective work.
Yeah.
And we're very glad that we have such an amazing working team who actually is passionate about this and is dedicated to it.
Tell us about your vision. Like अभी आगे चल के क्या करना है NCC Spotlight में?
You would like to go first?
Yeah, I think for first what we had planned for this podcast was that it reaches to the college.
Yeah.
And I think it has come in the form of students wanting to willingly be a part of this podcast.
Yeah.
I think you have worked with Avron closely.
Yeah, we had a guy, Adrian, who's like from a different department other than BMC, and he's like very enthusiastic about hosting. He came. The funny thing is that we gave him questions in Hindi, and he's not like he's not very keen, like he was very not comfortable in speaking Hindi, but he tried, and he's like it was a little funnier, but yeah, he tried, and that was a very good part about him.
I think it was a part of the Christmas
Diwali
episode. So I think the vision going forward would be expanding more into getting other department students and not only like the entire college getting involved in it and them willingly wanting to be a part of it. I think
And it gave justice to the name, no? Spotlight.
Light.
Yeah,
Yeah.
giving light to the hidden talents of our college. Yeah.
so. What have you all planned for? Since I'm a TY student, I will be graduating. So what is the plan for the
I'm
next year?
speaking from the behalf of everyone who's associated with this podcast. What we have planned is like we all want to make this podcast very big. So everyone in this college should know about this podcast. We're like experimenting with new stuff. We're experimenting with a lot of like new ideas. That we
Different
want to,
genres.
Yeah, different genres. We want to make this accessible to everyone in this college so that everyone learn something or the other from this podcast. Because all of the guests we had something valuable to share. So that's our motive, that's the very first priority for us, that we make something valuable out of this podcast. So people who have watched this, they feel something, this was worth it.
They have a takeaway from
Yeah.
this podcast.
Yeah, and also we would like to, encourage all those other students in this college. You can actively participate in this podcast. You can be host, you can be, you can speak. There's a lot of things to
You
do.
can share ideas if
Yeah.
you have with
So,
me.
That's that. This podcast is like as a way, to have all the people from all these departments, all the students to get connected, create something very good. That's our aim.
Something that represents
Yeah.
our college,
Yeah.
what our college stands for.
It's Nkc Spotlight, so yeah, we want everyone in this Nkc to be a part of this. So that's our team.
I think that is what our major vision and focus is for
Yeah.
the next year. Incorporating more people, expanding this family, this team that we have.
Avron was a start. We
Yeah,
have more people to come
definitely.
in,
Yeah.
joining you.
And the fun fact is, Avron is an FY.
yeah,
He's from the first year.
Wanted to
Yeah, like he saw the podcast and he decided that he feels like he wants to be a part of the team. And I think that's a very good
We
milestone.
also
that
have
we have.
various people, Krishna from our class.
Yeah.
BM, second year.
Okay.
Who we never knew they wanted to do,
Yeah.
wanted to host, but they came surprised.
She's a very quiet kid
Yeah.
otherwise in class, but she stepped forward that she wanted to be a
This podcast brought people
yeah.
with hidden talents, and your vision, as you say, that more people would join this family, and this family is gonna get bigger. So
Yeah.
vision pura hoga.
so far in these episodes, the NKC Spotlight has taken steps towards reaching its goal.
Yeah.
That is reaching out to people, and I think in some way or the other we have accomplished it this year.
Yeah.
Especially for a beginning, I think it's quite a good start where we are at.
That's good.
That's what it is.
So thank you so much for joining us in this podcast. I think जो पीछे रहते हैं वो दिखते नहीं है, बट उनका जो मेहनत होता है वो ना दिखने से बहुत ज्यादा होता है. So I think this podcast is very wholesome podcast, I would say, because we never knew Harsh इतना बोलता भी है.
I agree.
अभी कहाँ बोला?
For the record, हर्ष बहुत बोलता है, लेकिन
This
कैमरा के पीछे.
this time actually तेजस ने कम बोला है, हर्ष ने ज्यादा बोला है.
Compare करी जाए तो yes, I will agree. But yeah, I think absolutely.
Yeah. So I think
it has helped us also. Like, it is helping person is helping.
देखो थोड़ा कम कर लो, बहुत ज्यादा लंबा हो गया फिर एडिट.
Yes. Sorry, Harsh.
अभी तो करता है.
So before we end this podcast, I feel that this episode is the last of this academic year 2023-2024. We would like to thank a lot of people who made this possible, because of whom we are here now. Our principal ma'am, Dr. Professor Moshmi Datta, who gave us the idea to have a podcast of our college.
She laid the foundation.
She laid the foundation. And a vice principal and IQAC coordinator, Dr. Mona Mehta, who made this possible to bring this podcast into existence. So she made this possible. Our coordinator, our executive officer, Mrs. Preeti Rao, who made all of us to form a team and then come together. She's someone who has she's someone who pushes us. She always makes us have a challenge, and she teaches us a lot of new ways to do things. Because mano na mano, hum thode to lazy hain. We need someone to push us. We also thank our teacher, Mrs. Shirley ma'am, and also now the newly added member and leader, Mr. Ashwin sir, Advocate Ashwin sir. Thank you all the people. Thank you also all the guests, Nkc ma'am, our management team, and also all the chairpersons that came in the first episode, and all the Nelson sir, Edwin sir, all the people that made the first year of Nkc Spotlight possible
And give more value to our podcast.
Yeah, and proving our point that Nkc Spotlight है, तो उसका vision पूरा होगा.
And special thank you to our viewers
Yeah.
and our listeners who have always tuned into us, who have actually given us this support that makes us ki अरे बनाना है और एक episode के because there are people who watch us,
Yeah.
who love us.
Motivation.
Exactly, there are motivation to make this as fun, as interactive, as meaningful as possible. So special thank you to the viewers who have always tuned in and have always given us our love. We love you.
And lastly, our pyari team, Himanshu, our VCP of podcast, Yug, our videographer, Harsh, our editor, Manish, our organizer, Purva, our head of the podcast, production manager, our host, our lovely host, Shivang, who has also helped us manage all the rooms that we've shot. Venues. I hope that कि जो अगला episode होगा उसमें और भी बड़ा करेंगे हम. And myself.
Content writers.
And we need a good content.
Okay. cut. और edit कर देना इसको. Thank you.
So we'll see you in the next academic year.
Yeah.
For then, तब तक stay tuned. We'll take your break. See you.
Also, wait. We left someone, Aman, who's like one of those people who's going to lead this, because हम तो चले जाएंगे. We need a.
मैं जा रही हूँ फिलहाल.
Yeah, हम रहेंगे. कुछ लोग चले जाएंगे. Our team is expanding. Aman, thank you for shooting this.
Behind the camera.
Janisha, thank you for shooting, documenting this whole episode. whole, the experience we're having right now, and a lot of people that were there. Thank you.
We'll see you. Bye bye from
Till then,
NKC Spotlight.
Conversation.